Hello everyone, welcome to another video. Today we're going to talk about properties of the quadratic graph. So over here you can see that on the left side we have a quadratic graph, and then the actual equation of this graph is actually a y equal to two brackets times together x minus 2 and x minus 6. So let's look at a few of the things that the quadratic graph have. So first of all, we have the maximum or minimum shape. So in this case, you can see that it's a U shape with a smiley face, right? So this will be what we call a minimum shape, because in a shape like this, there's a minimum point, the lowest point. Okay, so how do we figure out what kind of graph the graph is? So if you expand these two brackets, you actually get x squared minus 8x plus 12. So the shape is solely determined by the coefficient of the x squared. So in this case, the coefficient is 1. So it's a positive number. So when it's positive, it's going to be a minimum graph. And so like the other way, if it's a negative coefficient for x squared, it's going to be a maximum graph. So that's all. So next thing, we're going to talk about our y-intercept. So a y-intercept is the point where actually the graph cuts the y-axis. So there's something about this point that's very important. So if we look at it in terms of coordinates, this coordinate is actually 0, comma something. Okay, so why do we know, how do we know it's always 0? Because on this whole line, which is the y-axis, every single point here is going to be 0 something because of the 0 here. Okay, so it also that also means that how to find this number is actually very simple. If you got the equation over here, once you know one of the numbers, you can sub it into the equation and you can find the other one. So if I sub x equals 0, so this becomes 0, this becomes 0, we end up with negative 2 times negative 6, which is just 12. So this is actually 12. That's how you find a y-intercept. So similarly, if you want to look at x-intercept, we are looking at this and this. So by the same theory, if I look at it from a coordinate point of view, this is going to be something, comma, 0. The y value is always going to be 0 because it's on the x-intercept. So similarly, I'm going to sub y equals 0 into this equation, and I'm going to be able to solve it. So I've paused the video and solved it in advance. So you see that we have y equals 0. So when two brackets are equal to 0, like we learned in Sec 2, it's going to be this bracket equals 0 or the other bracket equals 0, and we have two answers. So from x minus 2 equals 0, I get 2. X minus 6 equals 0, I get 6. So one number is 2, one number is 6. So by the law of common sense, this must be the smaller number, and this must be the bigger number. Okay, so that's how you find the x-intercept. You can see it as the opposite. To find y, you must sub x equals 0. To find x, you must sub y equals 0. So that's a easy way of remembering things. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about something more complicated, the line of symmetry. So a line of symmetry is the line that cuts the graph exactly into half. So this dotted line over here, you can see that this blue color dotted line is the line of symmetry. So if you actually fold this graph, so from here you fold over to here, the two graphs will actually be exactly the same. So that's what one of the most important properties of a quadratic graph. Okay, so how do we figure out what this number is right in the middle? And so because it is a line of symmetry, the distance over here, this distance and this distance is going to be exactly the same. So by common sense, this center number must be in between 2 and 6. So the answer is actually 4. So a more systematic way of getting it is actually the two numbers 2, and you plus together, divide by 2, equal to 4. That's why I say it is the number between the x-intercepts. Okay, so once you got the number, you also have the equation actually. The equation is actually x equal to 4, because it's a vertical line straight down. So the equation actually x equal to 4, because everything on this line over here is going to be 4 something, 4 something, 4 something. This way is x equal to 4. Okay, so last point. To find the coordinates of the maximum or minimum point. So in this case, we have a minimum point here, the lowest point, lowest y value on the graph. So same thing, if you look at it from a coordinate point of view, this point is going to be 4 something because of this 4 over here. So this is exactly below, so it's going to be 4 something. So how do we find? We actually just sub one of the numbers we know into the equation. So I'm going to sub 4 into the equation of the graph. Either one is fine, and then I'm going to be able to find the answer. So I've paused the video and done the working in advance. So if you look, I'm going to sub x equal to 4 into this equation. So I'm replacing the x and the x by 4. And if I calculate, I'm going to get negative 4. So uh, the minimum point is actually 4, negative 4. You simply sub the middle value of the um, x-intercept into the equation. So these are all the properties that are going to be very useful when as you learn how to sketch the quadratic graph. So hope you have learned something. Thank you and bye bye.